All right, let's get right into it because we have a fascinating economic mystery on our hands today. This is all based on a really insightful 2021 paper by economists Tovar and Carrasco. And it's a puzzle, really, about a country that seemed to do everything right to get its economy booming, but, well, it just didn't happen.
And this chart right here really tells you everything you need to know. Just look at those two bars. After Mexico opened up its economy back in the 80s, its exports just went through the roof. I mean, a huge success by any measure. But then you look at that second bar. Over that exact same time, the economic growth for the average person, the money people actually felt in their pockets, was practically flat. We're talking an average of just 1% a year. All that incredible export money just wasn't lifting up the wider economy.
So that's the big question, isn't it? That's what we're here to figure out. With exports exploding, why did the rest of the economy seem to be stuck in first gear? It's a question that's had economists scratching their heads for a long time. So let's play detective and see where the clues lead.
Okay, so our first clue, and really the main suspect in a case like this, is a very well-known economic theory that should, in theory, explain this whole situation perfectly.
It's called Thirlwall's Law. Now, don't worry about the fancy name. The idea behind it is actually super simple. The best way to think about it is like an economic speed limit. Basically, the law says that a country can't grow any faster over the long haul than its exports can pay for its imports. Let's break that down even more. Exports, that's money in. You sell stuff to other countries, and that money flows into your economy, fueling growth. Imports, that's money out. You buy stuff from other countries, and your money flows out. Thirlwall's law just says you've got to keep those two things balanced. The growth of your exports sets the ultimate speed limit for your whole economy. Simple, right? Well, that's where our mystery gets a plot twist. Because when economists actually took this simple law and applied it to Mexico's real-world data, the numbers didn't add up at all. The main suspect's story just wasn't checking out. And this wasn't some big secret. As Tovar and Carrasco point out here, lots of experts knew the theory was coming up short. They had a hunch it was missing something to do with foreign trade specialization. The standard model was just too simple. It was missing a key piece of the puzzle. And right here, this is the smoking gun. This is the hard evidence. Between 1990 and 2016, Mexico's actual growth per person was 1.17%. But what did the standard theory, our main suspect, predict? Just 0.57%. That's not just a little off, it's wrong by almost half. The theory was predicting growth that was way, way too low. So if this widely accepted economic law is that far off, you have to ask, what gives? What was the missing piece? What critical detail was everyone overlooking that could explain this massive gap between the theory and what was actually happening? And this is where Tovar and Carrasco really cracked the case. They realized the missing clue wasn't about how much Mexico was trading, it was all about what it was trading. And maybe even more importantly, what it had to import just to be able to make those exports in the first place. Yep, the missing piece was the composition of trade. It's not about the total dollar signs, it's about what the goods actually are. So here's the deal. Mexico did this amazing thing where it shifted from exporting raw materials like oil to making and exporting high-tech stuff. Cars, electronics, you name it. On paper, that looks fantastic. But here's the catch. Mexico was mostly assembling these things, not designing them from scratch. So to export a finished car, it first had to import all the really valuable parts, the engine, the computer systems, the transmission. And this created a cycle. The more you export, the more high-value stuff you have to import just to keep the assembly line running. And get this number. By 2014, more than a third, 33.5%, of the value of everything Mexico exported was actually made up of parts it had imported from somewhere else. That is a huge chunk. It means a massive amount of that money in from exports was immediately flying right back out as money out to pay for all those components. This whole system was basically acting like a giant brake on the economy. And this slide, right here, this is the big reveal. This is where it all comes together. Once Tovar and Carrasco adjusted the old theory to account for the composition of trade for this high import content, look what happened. The actual growth was 1.17%. And the new prediction from their modified theory? Exactly 1.17%. It's a perfect match. Unbelievable.
So there you have it. The second we stop looking at just the total numbers and we start looking at what is actually being traded, the math works perfectly. The economic speed limit lines up exactly with reality. The mystery is solved. The case is closed.
But, solving the case is one thing. The really important question is, what does this verdict mean for the future? How does a country like Mexico break through this invisible ceiling on its growth?
Well, the paper's conclusion is pretty clear on this. If Mexico wants to grow faster, it can't just be the world's assembly plant. It needs to do two big things. First, it has to invest in its own research and development, its own R&D to create its own technologies. And second, it needs to build up its own domestic industries to make those complex parts, the engines, the microchips, that it's currently forced to import. It has to start capturing more of the value that it's helping to create.
And that really leaves us with one final big picture thought. It's not just about Mexico. It's a question for a lot of countries in our global economy. Can you really become a rich, high-wage country just by getting really, really good at putting together the brilliant ideas that come from other nations? This entire economic detective story suggests that, just maybe, the answer is no.